Understand someone not just by the answers they present, but also the questions they ask, because answers tell you where they've been and questions show you where they want to go. Today we'll be talking about reveals in chapter 1069, and many more concepts that expand outwards like the Big Bang. The specific lines from Vegapunk kind of do feel like the starting point to a major aspect of the One Piece universe, and it feels like they add so much nuance to the very concepts that most of the community has been enthralled with during the entire journey in the story of One Piece. Vegapunk gave us many answers with his perceived knowledge and immense brain. It would make it feel like he is an authority on all aspects of the One Piece world, and I'm not saying that's a wrong perspective, but I do want to frame what he has said with the questions he asked along with his answers. Because if Vegapunk is a man who seems like has all the answers, then that makes all of his questions that much more important. And hopefully that will connect us to a better understanding of what is going on. So if you're new to my channel, the way I view the world is by making connections. So let me connect you to my vision, the ParVision. What's funny about the progression of the scene where Vegapunk gives us information about the Devil Fruit is that the exact framing of it is Vegapunk being the man with all the answers, answering questions by various characters present, starting with Nami asking who is that, referring to Rob Lucci, and Shaka answers essentially saying that it's an awakened Zoan, which subtly confirms the obvious that yes, Luffy is an awakened Zoan due to Lucci's mirrored visualization as compared to Luffy. But anyways, then we get the detail about the warrior in white that was used in near tandem with the epithet Warrior of Liberation, which has its own implications. But moving on, Vegapunk asks his primary questions that honestly never gets answered but sparks the rest of the information. Vegapunk asks, what is this transformation of Straw Hats exactly? Nami responds, isn't it his gum power? And responding to a question with a question isn't usually a great sign, but Vegapunk responds that there is no such thing as the Gomu fruit, even in the oldest books of devil fruits. Usopp asks what's that supposed to mean, since Luffy is always saying Gomu everything. Vegapunk responds again saying Luffy looks just like a god who only appears in the oldest of texts. Sanji questions this and says, a god? You know he's a moron, right? Vegapunk responds, indeed, the foolish and laughable warrior of liberation who brings smiles to all people, also known as Nika the sun god. Nami asks, Nika? Never heard of it. And Vegapunk responds, you wouldn't have. It's a name that has been erased from the historical record, but as long as people wish for him, his existence will truly never disappear. And this is where Vegapunk goes on to explain devil fruits. He says all things are brought into this world with hope. Yes, even the devil fruits. Every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution that someone desired. If only I could be like this. If only I could be like that. All of those powers represent the many branches of the future of humanity. But that unnatural status is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature, a fitting punishment for its sin. Those with powers exist in different dimensions dreamed up by someone else before them. But then Oda adds this line from Vegapunk, this is only my theory, and saying, so you see, you don't even need to debate whether any god exists or not. Isn't it just such a fascinating world? These lines are some of the most loaded lines in all of One Piece history, and these are the official translations. And while I know the Japanese may add some different context, I do think it is important to dissect what was chosen for the English translation. It seems that the text was left vague and slightly ambiguous, but Artur, the Library of Ohara, saying that overall Vegapunk's wordage was speaking more philosophically rather than a matter of fact. But nonetheless, these are lines that my mind will be revisiting many times over, unless they are overwritten in the near future with more lore. See, something that we do have to take into consideration is Vegapunk said all of what he said was just his theory, which is fair. I like that inclusion, and though usually when you present a theory, you provide evidence that makes that line of logic compelling, which he has not done yet, but we have over 1,000 chapters of data to apply his logic to and try to understand the meaning here. Though I am sure Vegapunk will provide the evidence soon, we do want to look for how valid his theory might be based on previous assertions explanations, and luckily, Vegapunk provided us a previous example of a theory, but I think there is a slight difference here. He does not take the whole credit for this theory, he actually says it's just a theory, but not his, and rather it was the scholars of Ohara's theories, which was why they got wiped out, which gives credence to why all of it might be true, because by the world government's actions, they indirectly confirmed the theory. And why does Vegapunk believe the theory on his own? Well, he had what we understand a majority of the knowledge passed on by the Oharans through the books salvaged by Saul, and what looks like the new giant pirates. And on top of that, Vegapunk has the legendary Iron Giant, which gives him even more reason to believe that there was an ancient kingdom that was so advanced, even he could not reach their levels of creations, as he does not understand the cornerstone of their achievement, which was their energy source. And if you want to get the notification for that future video where I talk about the energy source during the Void Century and what I took away from that development, make sure to subscribe to the channel. But with all that being said, I doubt Vegapunk's theory is going to be proven wrong, but rather it's in the right direction, and clearly there's a lot of romance surrounding the nature of his explanation. And with that in mind, I do want to break down my thoughts when it came to these lines in the official translations. First, this line. But as long as people wish for him, his existence will truly never disappear. So does this mean that if Nika was forgotten, then Luffy would not have awakened? Was it the wishes of the samurai on Wano that revived Luffy as Nika? Wano was truly the only place where the names Joy Boy, Nika, and Luffy were all used in near tandem to each other. Who's Who mentioned Nika, Momo's group including Yamato and Zunisha all brought up Joy Boy in different contexts, and Hyogoro recognized Luffy as a guardian deity, and the masses of oppressed samurai wished for liberation. This line stuck out to me because I had assumed as long as the fruit itself continues to circulate, it will always have the chance to awaken. But it says as long as people wish for him, it won't disappear. And I'm curious which people in particular are responsible for the current manifestation and awakening of Nika. Who wished for him in this scenario? Which now I want to point out this very important thematic I have thought of for a long time, and that is the importance in name recognition. As noble as it is to not take credit for heroic actions, it does create a gap where in the Onigashima example, if you ask different groups of people who liberated Wano, the Straw Hats and the pirates would say Luffy. The oblivious citizens of Wano would say Joy Boy. Kaido might even say Joy Boy as he prophesied the person who would defeat him would be Joy Boy. The Gorosei might say it was Nika, but Zunisha could say it was Joy Boy, right? And if I asked someone from Dressrosa who saved them, it'd be Lucy, right? Or would it be Luffy Land? And if I asked Shirahoshi, it'd be Sir Luffy. And if I asked Crocodile who saved Arabasta, it'd be Mugiwara, right? The point is, Luffy doesn't care for recognition, and simply pushes on as his heroics form their own tales, leaving an impact on those he had affected. I wonder if that's the same case with the warrior in white name that Vegapunk mentioned earlier. I mean, Who's Who knew the story of Nika, but not the depiction. Despite this, somehow Vegapunk has a depiction of Nika, and I'm curious from where. Is the warrior in white the Void Century's way of remembering Nika? The name was erased, but similar to Kiros, though he was forgotten, he was known as the one-legged soldier until he was eventually reawakened in his full form, which further emphasizes the importance of memories, because according to that earlier line from Vegapunk, if the image of Nika was also lost, then maybe Nika wouldn't have appeared, or maybe it would have appeared in a different manifestation. Which takes me to another point of focus regarding Vegapunk's theory. Despite Vegapunk's vast knowledge of devil fruits, in this chapter we do see some gap in knowledge. He seems to understand awakened Zoan powers and how they usually function and apply that in Lucci's case, understanding that he was awakened, but questioned Luffy's awakened appearance. It wasn't Vegapunk's knowledge of devil fruits that helped him here. He actually subtly references the oldest of texts, which to me feels like it has to mean Poneglyphs poneglyphs, but maybe it means something else? But anyways, he says that Luffy as the White Warrior looks so closely to a god from that text that he remembers that he was able to accurately discern the exact deity that the Gorosei tied to Luffy's awakening, which was super interesting to me because there was two things here. One, that kind of told me that Nika, a devil fruit entity, was described possibly on a poneglyph, or that there's some other important text for us to receive in the future. But also these texts and the Gorosei seem to imply multiple gods. Now, I'm not saying there are 4 gods or 2 or others, but this is the second time where this kind of thing was implied. It's very slight, but saying Nika, a sun god, kind of implies that there are other sun gods, but instead we say Nika, the sun god. Just like how both the Gorosei and Vegapunk say Nika is a god of some ancient origins. And I like how Oda frames Vegapunk's monologue here, because he ends with a line saying it does not matter if you doubt the existence of God or not, because of what he said at the start, in that all things are brought into this world with hope. This is a powerful line, right? This is also a line that contradicts something brought on later in this discussion. But essentially the way I interpreted this was that gods were born out of hope. When a person who seems to fulfill the hopes and dreams of a group, they become a god. That's how Usopp did it when he freed Dressrosa and became their warrior of hope. And in that context, this isn't the first time in 1000 chapters Luffy has gotten a similar status, referring to chapter 479 titled The Warrior of Hope, where Nightmare Luffy is declared their warrior of hope, and this being part of my favorite theory where I self-insert that Gear 5 Luffy should be named Daydream Luffy as a juxtaposition to Nightmare Luffy. But I will talk about that more another day. But the idea that hope can make anything possible is something that we have discussed heavily on this channel. It is the premise behind elemental haki, devil seed users, Mihawk is a sword, and so many other theories, all circulating an example we always mention no matter how many times we have to repeat it. Big Bar's Papagoo is a starfish that hoped and believed that he was a human so much that he never doubted it and just functions as a human essentially. So much so that a lot of people just mistook him for a fishman. With that being said, in chapter 1069, we get more nuance behind how important hope is for the One Piece world. Vegapunk asserts that hope is what created devil fruits, which is great, but like I said, it's contradicted in my opinion with what he says just after. After a few lines, he says the unnatural status of the powers is loathed by the sea, the mother of nature, which sounds weird because of what preceded this comment. It was said that all things are brought into this world with hope, including devil fruits. But if Mother Nature loathes it because it's unnatural, that could mean that hope itself is unnatural somehow, which doesn't make any sense to me. In between these lines, Vegapunk says every devil fruit is a possibility for human evolution that someone desired. All of those powers represent the many branches of the future of humanity. Where in there is there something unnatural? So this on its own clearly indicates a gap within Vegapunk's theory. He does not explain the unnatural status. How could human evolution, regardless of the possibilities, be unnatural? All the possibilities should be within natural confines, unless we are saying that humans themselves are unnatural. But that also wouldn't make sense because only devil fruit users have this unnatural status. But you know what this sounds like? When I read this line, the unnatural status, I thought of Enel. Back in chapter 274, while Enel was proclaiming that as a kami he was searching for a land worthy of him, Fairy Verth, he goes on a tirade saying this: "You are not clouds, but you are born in the sky. You are not birds, but you live in the sky. The foundation of this country in the sky is unnatural. Land is the place for land. Humans have a place for humans, and the kami has a place for the kami. Each has a place which it must return. Nothing is impossible. As the kami, I'm just following the laws of nature. That's how it should be. I will drag all humans down from the sky." I want to make a whole video talking about Enel now with this hope context, which will probably come sometime after this video, but after chapter 1069, I feel like what Enel said here might be indicative of what Mother Nature's role might be. See, Enel for some reason, most reasonably because of his devil fruit, believes that he is a kami that is beyond humans. I wonder why. But more than that, it seems like he has some kind of will imbued within him. He says he is just following the laws of nature. According to him, it seems that humans don't belong in the sky, which is ironic because Shandora ended up in the sky via the knock upstream, which from our current understanding was an act of nature or even God. Enel says he'll drag all humans down from the sky. It kind of sounds like how the devil of the sea or Mother Nature apparently has a similar effect to drag devil fruit users down to the ocean floor. If Enel is a god enforcing the laws of the sky, then there might be a god to enforce the laws of the sea, which could be where Davy Jones comes to play. But anyways, Enel said he would bring humans down from the sky because it is unnatural and humans naturally should be at sea level, which obviously if you know anything about humans, we don't really like being told what to do, especially not by some budget Slim Shady looking ass dude. But anyways, if you applied the overall parallel to what Vegapunk'S said, maybe it's because devil fruit powers naturally belong on the ocean floor. Maybe something was stolen from Mother Nature, but also why is Mother Nature the sea? I have my own answers that I will discuss in an upcoming video, but to give you an idea, especially based on my recent trend of videos, it might be that humanity evolved from the sea and grew to a point where it lost association to the sea, making it unnatural. The idea that things went too far or beyond expectation does come to mind when it comes to evolution. It almost makes it feel like Mother Nature, being the sea in One Piece, allowed for the fruits to exist at one point, only to be betrayed by something in the end, and thus creating that hatred and determination that it is unnatural. So if Mother Nature is the sea, then maybe the difference of opinion was with Father Sky, and the world of the sun was opposed to the world of the seas. I was thinking maybe there was a trade of some sort of equal parts, or at the start it was assumed it was equal. Maybe Mother Nature gave the land devil fruits and the land gave ocean sunlight via the sunlight tree Eve. And we can't escape this glaring concept that was left in our faces at the end of Wano. That being Admiral Aramaki's power of the forest fruit or the woods fruit, whichever way you prefer. He says the forest is just as much the cradle of life as the sea. It is nature itself. That's very interesting because the way Viz translates 1069 is that the sea is the mother of nature. And here Aramaki says the forest is nature itself and the cradle of life. So then is it that the sea is the mother of the forest and the sky is the father? As those are the two primordial entities that come together to create land and life. And when you think of rain that nourishes the lands that come from the sky, the source for rain is actually just the sea or oceans. With Luffy as the sun god, it makes you wonder about him and what his role is here. All of this nature talk almost makes it seem like, yeah, humans were an unnatural occurrence in the world, and they themselves lived to fight and oppress nature. With inventions like the aircon and dance powder, manipulating the weather does tread on the side of unnatural. When we look at the examples, fishmen learn to live with the water, minks learn to live with the forest, and apparently humans are the only ones audacious enough to live where they aren't naturally supposed to be. Speaking about the humans Enel was talking about, living on clouds despite it being unsustainable seems like the kind of things humans would do, I'm not gonna lie. And to possibly further emphasize the humans' disconnect to nature, I like to think about why Jinbei is called the first son of the sea. Is that indicating some kind of fishman kinship to the sea, who now is supposed to be regarded as the mother of nature? I wonder if that on its own relates to the sort of lineage we are discussing, where all life may stem from the ocean itself. And again, I'll talk more about that in the future. Is it a coincidence that Enel and Aramaki with their broken Logia powers seem to be driven to nearly insanity levels following some kind of self-purported natural order? Apparently, if you mix their ideologies together, you get discrimination creates solace and gods belong on the moon. And I wonder if that union and play on words will ever bear fruit, if you catch my drift. It's kind of like these users come from their own dimensions or something that was established with a hard set of natural laws. And that being said, we haven't even gone to the line about dimensions, which I will unpack in the video that comes after this one. And just going back to the main part of this video that I wanted to highlight, it was that the one question that Vegapunk offered amidst all of his big brain answers, it was questioning what Luffy's transformation actually was. Shaka also seemed to be amazed by Lucci's transformation. So I think considering Vegapunk has the information regarding devil fruits and gods and how dreams shape the world, then maybe the true awakenings are the missing key in the One Piece world. This mystery might lead us to the answer around the power source and the last horizon in the dawn that Luffy will eventually bring. I know this is less standard of a video, but I did want to discuss the revelations Vegapunk gave us during the break week and share some more of my perspective. I wrote this video in a batch of 6 this time, and there's still so much I want to discuss that I couldn't yet fit within any of those scripts, so make sure to tune into my live streams where I share more of my thoughts. One Piece really gets my brain racing, and I guarantee it's faster than your brain is when it comes to subscribing to the channel or liking or commenting on the video. If you enjoyed this discussion, stay tuned for the next ones. And so, like always, thank you for connecting with me, and I'm looking forward to connecting with you all on the next ParVision.